Now, good news on a global scale. After 15 years of negotiation, an agreement has been reached to better protect oceans around the world. It's called the UN High Seas Treaty. It will create protected areas covering 30% of international waters by the end of the decade. And it will also mean more money for marine conservation and bring in new rules for mining at sea. Our reporter, Charlotte Hughes, has the latest.
A long night following 2 intense weeks of discussions, as UN member states finalised the first international treaty to protect the high seas.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ship has reached the shore.
Indeed, it was worth the wait. Activists have praised the historic treaty as a momentous achievement, as it will allow for the creation of marine protected areas in these international waters. The high seas comprise around 2/3 of the world's ocean and almost half the planet's surface. Since they extend up to 200 nautical miles from coastlines, all countries can use them for fishing, shipping and conducting research. But until now, just 1% of these waters have been protected, meaning that marine life in the high seas faces threats such as overfishing, shipping traffic and climate change. Its exact wording has not yet been agreed, but the treaty will require countries to carry out environmental impact surveys of proposed activities on the waters, helping to protect the ocean's precious ecosystems, which create half the oxygen humans breathe and limit global warming by absorbing carbon dioxide. Before it is formally adopted, the agreement will need to be vetted by lawyers and translated into the UN's 6 languages.
Well, we can get a sense on this development, what it means. We can talk to Gianni Valenti, who joins me in the studio. You're the founder of the charity Gaia First. First of all, how significant is this?
Correct. Thank you very much. This is a very good news. This is extremely important. Of course, it's 30% that still have to be identified exactly how limitations are going to act. But the oceans are responsible for the world biodiversity, oxygen production. More than half of it is produced in the oceans, as well as pandemics control and climate control. So the oceans play a massive role, and more than 2/3 of the oceans are high seas. So we're talking about a huge part that is largely uncontrolled, and more often than not, they are used as dumps and overfishing areas. So dumps for fishing gears and all other polluting chemicals, even radioactive chemicals. So it's very important to keep a control, to start monitoring and controlling activities. And this also comes in quite nicely with the new development of deep sea mining that we're looking into developing, and this treaty will put some blocks and some limits on most activities, which is very good.
And behind you we can see apparently, well, some of the scenes there were delegates applauding as soon as this decision was made, but it still has to be ratified.
Yes, correct. So we still, I guess, how exactly implemented this will be discussed in future meetings, and hopefully this doesn't leave room for any ambiguous interpretation. So I hope it's direct and strict and well defined.
We're talking about areas outside of national waters, so international waters, but 30%. What about the other 70%?
Well, the other 70%, well, let's say this is already at the beginning. It's a very important beginning, because those areas are largely, as I said, it's the Wild West. There are international laws that cover those international areas, but since it's very hard to monitor and to control them, and no one country keeps an eye on them completely, then it's Wild West. Anybody does whatever they want. So this is already good. By starting with those areas, then we can even spread larger. But it's important to start. And this I think goes towards the goal 30 by 30, which is not just the ocean, but also ocean and land, the protection of 30% of all wild areas by 2030.
Given that we're so used to talking about geopolitics at a strain, with the war in Ukraine, the issues between China and the US, superpowers, I think there is a sense that, OK, this is a little bit of good news. Give us a sense of how critical the waters are. And you talked a little bit about that, what species we're talking about and really what that potentially could reverse from 2030 onwards.
Well, it is quite critical because currently, because of overfishing, because of over-polluting, because of overusing the high waters or the oceans in general, what we have a chain reaction, a positive feedback chain reaction, which means actually instead of the ocean fighting back, it actually amplified the speeds at which it is destroyed. For example, acidifying the oceans, therefore breaking down even further coral reefs and all other life in it. We're talking about major groups of animals, large predators like sharks, but also smaller animals disappearing because of overfishing, because of trophy hunting, because of anything. Just imagine that bycatch is one of the biggest problems with fishing, because bycatch sometimes constitutes 90% of what is fished. For example, shrimp trawlers. In some cases, 90% of what they catch, it's something else other than shrimps, and so automatically it's thrown back dead into the sea. So the way we're consuming, the way we're industrializing fishing and all those activities is actually detrimentary for the whole Earth and the whole planet.
Gianni Valenti, thank you for joining us. Gianni Valenti, the founder of Gaia First, or Mother Earth First, the charity. Well, that's it for the team here for the moment. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. Stay with us for updates from Greece and from Ukraine and all the headlines from around the world. We'll be back.